Hey everybody, this is Chuck Marohn back in Brainerd, Minnesota. It's kind of a cloudy day. It feels like it's going to rain. We'll see. My last video I talked about mortgage fraud and the endemic nature of fraud according to the Philly Fed within the residential mortgage market. Today I'm going to talk about commercial real estate market, fraud in the commercial real estate market. This is fraud that exists in apartment buildings, multifamily buildings, that kind of thing. There was a report out of the Wall Street Journal. And the interesting thing about this report is that it didn't quote specific people. It was kind of one of these Wall Street Journal exclusives, anonymous sources kind of thing. But, obviously they had the documents because what this was internal conversations at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the two government-owned, nationalized government entities that purchase, bundle home mortgages across the US. They basically create the market. They also do this for apartments and multifamily buildings. The article in the Wall Street Journal was called Fannie Freddie. The title was Fannie Freddie are poised to tighten real estate lending rules. All right. It's a weird time at the end of a bubble to look to tighten the rules, but that's actually what happens. I mean, that's actually the way things work. We start to realize that the fraud is a problem long after the fraud is a problem. What are the rules that they're looking to tighten? Well, Fannie and Freddie are looking at their portfolios and they're saying, we can't really guarantee, or we don't really know if these lenders, these borrowers, the people who we have lent money to through banks, through intermediaries, through other parties, right? Fannie Freddie are not making the loans, they're buying the loans from others. We can't verify incomes. We can't verify that people actually have the money that they say they have. We can't verify that they have the assets that they have. And so the new rules are going to require, if you want to sell your loan to Fannie and Freddie, you're going to have to show to them that you have verified that financial information. You're going to have to demonstrate to them that you have done that due diligence. The Wall Street Journal article said, quote, we want them to, quote, independently verify financial information related to borrowers for apartment complexes and other multifamily properties. They want banks, the people that are originating the loans, banks and other places that originate loans, they want them to confirm, quote, whether the borrower has adequate cash and, quote, their source of funds, right? In the last video, I talked about residential mortgages. This is commercial real estate. I talked about the difference between investors and people who buy homes to live in them, right? And that different risk profile. When you get into apartment buildings, when you get into multifamily buildings, again, the risk profile changes. And the amount of capital, the amount of cash, the amount of liquidity, the financial strength of the borrower pays a huge difference in how these loans are priced, how they can be securitized, and ultimately how those securities should be rated. What Fannie and Freddie are saying internally to themselves, and the Wall Street Journal is reporting, is like, hey, we got a problem. We really can't verify any of this stuff. We've got reason to suspect and reason to believe that these loans are not as secure as they've led us to believe. And we think we've got a problem here. Later in the article, it gets into kind of the 2008-esque conversation about appraisals. And I found this very interesting because they said one of the things that the new rules are going to do is require these people who originate the loans to actually verify that their appraisal is good, which is a bizarre kind of thing, right? You hire someone to do an appraisal and then you have to, in a sense, audit the appraisal. One of the lines in the article, and again, this is like shades of 2008, said, quote, we don't want to lose clients to too much red tape. This is the local banks, the originators of these loans. And understand what happens. If you have a multifamily, if you're building an apartment, if you're building a multifamily unit, and you have two banks you can go to, Bank A or Bank B. Bank A follows all the rules. They're going to verify everything. They're going to audit you. They're going to send out a real appraiser. They're going to make sure that everything is done by the books. Bank B is going to be much more laid back, right? Be like, yeah, we're going to write the loan. We're going to, do that. We don't have to get too worried about it. The idea of Fannie and Freddie is that, okay, for residential mortgages, we're really, really strict, right? After 2008, we've got all these things in place, supposedly, right, to deal with this. But what they're saying is that in the commercial real estate market, we don't have this. And so what happens is that the bad bank, Bank A, Bank B, the bank that will write all the loans, whatever, the one that's not doing all the due diligence, is being treated in the system the same way Bank A is. And so we're buying their loans, Fannie, Freddie. We're buying loans from both of these, Bank A and Bank B, discerning between the two at all. And what actually happens on the ground, and you can kind of see and understand this, is that if one bank is doing a bunch of due diligence and the other bank isn't, which bank are you going to go to if you want to do your commercial loan? You're going to go to the bad bank. So what happens is the bad bank crowds out the good bank. The bad money crowds out the good money. And what you get at the end of the day is you get a bunch of bad loans. These bad loans are on the books at Fannie and Freddie. We suspect they are on the books at Fannie and Freddie. I think you can kind of get, a little bit of the insight from how they're reacting to this, or the fact that they're concerned about this too. Concerned that these bad loans are on the books at Fannie and Freddie. That means they're on the books there, they're on the books everywhere. If they're on the books everywhere, what that means is that they're put into these securities. They are bundled, they're chopped up into different tranches, they're given ratings, and they're sold off. And so what you have is a bunch of commercial real estate products that are rated AA, AAA, that actually should be rated much, much less, actually should be far riskier. And the thing about these securities is that your local bank uses these securities as their collateral, uses it as their reserves, right? Banks are required to hold reserves. They can hold some of those reserves in securities like this. And so we look across the market, and all these places that are, in a sense, secured by these high ratings in the mortgage market are actually secured by stuff that we don't know the quality of and that we suspect might be pretty low. That's 2008 all over again.